And hello, we're looking at Paperboy today. This is a first power up in a long time. The monitor's a bit iffy, it's got a dodgy tube, it's on its way out. It's not too bad in summer, it powers up okay, but in winter it can take up to 20 minutes just for the picture to come on. It's not looking too bad. That's even retained some old scores on it. As you can hear, it's got a bit of a hum in one of the speakers. Let's just start a game up. It sounds kind of working. I think we've got a dodgy volume pot. Let's have a look. Yeah. Yeah, I can't really adjust that very well, so you can't really see it very well in the dark. But yeah, I think it's a double 10K pot, so I'll see if I can replace that and make that sound a bit better. Unfortunately, the service panel comes out quite easily. It's got a connector on it, so you can remove it as one unit for ease of servicing. Now that pot's a bit rusty and scabby. Could do cleaning this all up, and let's solder a new pot on and then see if that improves it or fixes it entirely, hopefully. Right, so with the new pot fitted, I'm just going to plug it in and test it works before I refit this, and hopefully, fingers crossed, that's it. Well, I've got better control over the volume now, there's no crackling, but up to the speakers, there's still quite a bit of hum on there. So it looks like I need to actually look at the amplifier board at some point, and maybe the amp chip does need replacing on that. Probably, I think the TDA 2003, something like that. Anyway, at least it's in stereo and not crackling anymore. Let's just start again. I'll just give you a quick look at the Paperboy boards before I remove the audio board. So it starts up here as the CPU board, and it goes all the way down to the video board, and then the AR3 at the very bottom. That's probably the biggest board in existence, I think. So if we have a quick look at the AR3, basically the AR3 is an audio sound amplifier, stereo, and it's also a voltage regulator. Now I'm actually not using the voltage part of this anymore because I made this extra loom here, which goes up to here. Now all Paperboy cabs have a second power supply at the top. Now it's normally a 5 amp power supply, but this has actually got I think it's a 15 amp one. So I thought, why not basically remove the AR3 connection and join this up, because now it runs a lot cooler and it's able to supply current for both, because these things get really hot, you can see from the big heatsink and the double regulators. So all this has been used for now is the audio regulation. So I'm going to pull that out and have a look at the audio circuitry on that. It does look a bit dirty and crusty, so right, should be able to sort that buzzing out hopefully. So here's the AR3 board on the bench. Now certainly needs a good clean, it's filthy. So this is the audio part of the circuit here. Those are the two TDA 2030s. They're looking pretty filthy and a bit corroded. These capacitors here look like it's in better days, so I think I'll replace the capacitors and the audio amps and see how that does. Well, I've got the old amps off and I've cleaned up the tracks because they were absolutely filthy and corroded. Here's my new amps. These are a bit of a pain to fit to get the legs lined up, but a bit of wiggling should sort it out. I'll put those in first and then we'll start looking at these capacitors. Okay, so I've replaced the big audio caps, and I've also replaced the filter caps on the 22 volt line. The reason is the 22 volt line feeds the audio circuit, so if that's putting out power that's not smooth, it's going to potentially affect the audio circuitry over here. So I'm doing there's basically 4 more electrolytics to replace, and these aren't easy to get hold of anymore. The what do you call them? The axial capacitors. I mean, that's the Panasonic 50 volt equivalent of that 35 volts, so it's actually smaller for a higher voltage, and it's in the radial package. So what I'm going to do basically is just form the legs and put some heat shrink over the legs so that I can actually stand it up in place. There we go. That's one way to replace a axial capacitor with a radial one. Just say reform the legs and put a bit of heat shrink over so you're not shorting over on any components where it would lie. And that should be everything. That's 6 electrolytic capacitors in the audio section, the 2 audio amps, and the caps in the 22 volt section. Let's go see what happens. Okay, so the board's back in. and that sounds a lot cleaner, a lot less hum. Now there is still a bit of hum on there, you can tell when it changes screens like that, but it's certainly a huge improvement. I don't know if there's anything further I can do. Maybe we need some shielded cables or something to make it a bit better, but at least that horrible constant buzzing is gone. Yeah, that should do nicely.